Welcome back, everybody. I am speaking to Flame Monroe. I'm so excited to be speaking to you. I love you so much. First of all, I love these glasses.
Oh, thank you, Hannah.
I love them so much.
I would say they're designer, but is the alley considered designer for $5? Okay, well.
Well, first of all, what I find very fascinating about you is obviously you have a very illustrious career that spanned over 2 decades at this point. I like to always take it back to the beginning. I'm a big origin story type of girl. Where did your love of comedy start for you? How did you get into this?
Thank you, Hannah. So I started in Chicago, from Chicago, and I used to host the drag shows underground for years. I hosted 20 years. I hosted drag shows in Chicago. So one night we went to a club called All Jokes Aside, and we were sitting in the audience. And so the comedian that was on the microphone just, because I was never a passable trans girl. You always knew. But I was very comfortable with me. So he started going at me from the stage with a microphone. I destroyed his ass. And he invited me on stage, and we went back and forth. And at the time, I was on house arrest. I had a brand on my leg, and I pulled my pants leg up. I said, okay, I'm ready to go back. And the place erupted, and I was like, oh, yeah, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to do. And it's such a joy when I'm on stage because I have the microphone, and I have the command of the room, and I command your attention. And I used to be petrified that people were staring at me, and they were quiet because I thought they was like reading me. But then Paul Mooney, the late great Paul Mooney, told me when I met him years and years ago, he says, let me tell you something. Bitch, they gonna always remember the sissy in the dress. And I thought that was the greatest compliment ever. My girlfriend said, you're not offended? I said, absolutely not. That is letting me know that I am memorable. And after touring on last year with Dave Chappelle and with Tiffany Haddish, it made me know I can stand with any monster on the stage. So yeah, it just started in Chicago. It was great, and it was a rough road in the beginning because this was 20 plus years ago, and transgender wasn't as transparent as they are now. So I was a fish in somebody else's pond, but I kept going and kept going. And if I would have been a wuss, they would have chased me away. But I am an animal in so many different ways.
So I'm curious to ask, in terms of your life in general, even your growing up and your childhood, did you always see yourself pursuing a career path quite like this, and even hitting the level obviously that you're at? And we'll get into all of the Dave Chappelle things here in a moment.
You know what's so funny? No, I was not say that I wasn't the funniest. I was always quick with a comeback because when we were children, we played the dozens and we would go back your mama jokes and woo woo woo. So that was like great training for me. But I don't know. I was always quick with it, and I saw the humor in so many different things because it was hard growing up being a young gay boy in the projects in Chicago, early 70s or whatever. So I had to find the humor, and it was a different time. Life wasn't as violent as it is now, but so we got along. Of course we fist fight, but we hung out. I used to play catch a girl, kiss a girl, and I was always caught if you was cute. If you was ugly, I was Flojo. But if you was cute, I was a white girl in a blonde B-rated movie. 2 steps and I'm falling straight down so you can kiss me. Oh my God, it was the best time. I was always the girl, by the way. Anyway, those were good times growing up. So it just really put me in a place to understand that I had a quick wit. I was quick with a comeback. But when I was introduced to comedy, I think Red Fox was like the first comedian who I would watch because I loved Flip Wilson growing up. I loved Red Fox growing up. I just loved these kind of comics. Of course, Richard Pryor, because they were so honest. In a brutal way sometimes, but it was acceptable then. It should still be acceptable, but comedy has changed.
In terms of it changing, what is your view on the idea of, obviously comedy's been shifting a lot, and obviously in the culture that we live in with everybody being a lot more woke and everything like that nowadays, what is that like, navigating that as a comedian for you?
I would like all the woke people to go back to sleep and take the nightmare that you brought with you to go back with you, because woke is ridiculous. I'm not saying that it's not responsible, but it's kind of soft and ridiculous. And I'm a trans woman for 35 years. Soft is not even in my DNA. I had to be strong. Remember, I was out when it was not transparent to be out. So I'm built from a different company. That's what I always say. I wasn't made by Mattel. I was made by iron, and iron sharpens iron. But I don't know. I think that because we are so monitored as comedians, and the First Amendment rights is to be able to have freedom of speech. Right. I'm never going to adhere to that. I'm going to do what I want to do because it's funny, and I'm not an angry comedian. I'm not pushing an agenda of this, that, and the third. I'm going to make you laugh at me and with me.
I'm curious to know your thoughts on cancel culture nowadays too. What obviously nobody wants cancel culture.
Yeah.
That is a very evident thing, and I personally am one to believe that you should always have an opportunity to learn and redeem. But where do you stand with that idea? And do you think that this is something that might start to eventually go by the wayside?
Actually, the cancel culture is real. I've experienced it because of my take on how I feel and stand for biological women.
Right.
And with my trans sisters, I'm always fair. It's never I'm pitting one against the other. I'm
Right.
exceptionally fair. But I think that the reason I know that I believe that it is shifting because when Dave Chappelle was under so much fire, and then Netflix stood with Dave Chappelle against the LGBT community trying to cancel The Closer. I think that made the shift change for people to be like, you know what, enough is enough. So I think that it is moving slowly, but I think that it is happening because people are starting to come to the realization of, oh my God, this is just too much. Sometimes it just becomes too much, and it has become too much. But it is definitely has happened and happens to so many people, and so many people are afraid to speak up because of the backlash of the cancel culture. I'm just a monster.
I don't think you're a monster for what it's
Oh
worth.
no! I'm a
But-
monster in a magnificent way. I
Well,
ain't no monster in a
yes.
scary way. I'm a monster that you ain't gonna break me or shake me
Right.
because I'm gonna give it to you back. I'm fair. You give it to me, I give it to you. Ain't that how it's supposed to go?
I'm curious to ask you. I know that you have children, and I
Yes.
know that you also have rescue dogs as well.
Oh, my
How
God.
are you balancing the work-life balance with
Help me, please
I
help me,
bet.
Hannah. Please help
I
me.
bet it's hard.
What's so crazy is that my children are 21, 20, and 17. And 21 and 20 are only 7 months apart. And they not two different mamas.
Oh wow.
I was busy. But my rescue dogs, Timmy and Dexter, are the sweetest little. So Dexter, I think, has a crush on me when I'm dressed like this. And Timmy won't talk to me when I'm in drag.
Oh.
It is the weirdest thing. It is so crazy. So I have to put a wig on to feed one and take the wig off to feed the other one.
Oh my goodness.
And when I don't feel like putting the wig on, that dog don't eat
Doesn't
that whole
eat?
day. Oh, I'm just joking, y'all. Don't be thinking I'm abusing my dogs. I love my fur babies. It is, you know what? It makes my life full and rich because I'm not in a box or in a pigeonhole. And I think that is some things that is happening with so many people who live in a certain community or only in a certain genre that you don't get to experience the whole world. Now, before I had children, I was probably one of those people who would say, oh, I'm cussing in the grocery store. And then somebody said, oh, his kids in here don't do that. I would probably say, but they ain't my kids. But now that I have my own children, I have to respect the boundaries and understand that there are other children watching. And a lot of people, I think, don't get that. But being a parent was very rich, fulfilling for me. I always wanted my own children. One, pull-out game wasn't nothing. But now I'm stuck with 3. Pull-out game just wasn't nothing, y'all. I ain't gonna even lie. Pull-out game was weak. It's strong now, but ooh, it was weak in my 20s. But I love being a parent because I always wanted my own family. You know, as a part of the LGBT community, we create our families, you know, sometimes because we don't get the love or the understanding that we get from our God-given family. So we create our own families. But I always wanted my own family, my own children.
I love that, like you said, you know, you intended on 1, but then you ended up with 3. but I love the fact that you're able to have your family there for you, especially with having such a busy nonstop career.
Yeah, and what I did, Hannah, was I stepped away because when me and my daughter's mom, because I was in love with my daughter's mom. My 2 girls are by the same, both my baby mamas named Tasha, but it's by the same woman, but my son was by another woman, her name was Tasha. She passed on a couple of years ago from diabetes, but I raised all of my children single-handedly by myself.
Wow.
Because she just was young and she didn't want to do it. And it wasn't like she was like, oh, I don't want to. She just knew that she didn't have the responsibility though. So I stepped away from my career for a while and raised my children because I wanted to know my children. And better than that, I wanted my children to understand me, to know me.
Right.
So I stepped away and it came back to comedy, and comedy was waiting for me. It's a lot more open now because when I first started doing stand-up, there was no openly gay comics really. There was definitely no transgender comics. You know, there was just, I was an anomaly. So it was really hard because some people wouldn't work with me because the fear was, oh, if you work with, especially for the male comics, if you work with Flame, oh, you must be attracted to Flame. You want to sleep with Flame. I'm like, no, how about I'm funny? My talent should speak for me.
Right.
But I had to allow people to come to me. I didn't go and kick the door in and say, I'm trans, you got to give me an opportunity. I kept showing up. I kept being funny, and I was never in any scandal like, oh, so and so slept with me or I slept. I never wanted any of that. Now I got some stories that I'm taking to the grave, but I was never one to out because your story is not my story to tell. So whatever you did with me or we did on the low, that wasn't my story to tell. That's your story to tell. So I always knew that. Plus, some of the checks still come. Anyway, where we at? Let me stop my foolishness.
You're
I'm not
funny.
gonna tell anybody anything. I never wanted to do that. I wanted to be respected. And I
Absolutely.
earned my respect as a comedian in the game now, which is why I was able to tour with a Dave Chappelle and a Tiffany Haddish at the same time.
Right.
Because I earned my respect. I didn't want it given to me. I wanted to work for it.
Absolutely.
And so a lot of times I get a lot of backlash from my own community, like I'm pandering or I'm kissing, but they weren't there 22 years ago, 23, when I was in the trenches, when I was invisible to other comedians. Y'all was in the green room with me and didn't even see me, didn't even acknowledge me. I earned my respect because every time I hit that stage, I was coming to blaze.
I love the fact of what you said, the fact that you earned your respect, you earned your way. I think that is the way to do it,
Yes.
obviously. No, the other way is not. It's not.
Well,
It's
that
just
is
corrupt.
probably part of the problem now with the internet. Everybody thinks that they are entitled or they
Right.
deserve to. You're a legend in a year. You're an icon in 2 years. Where?
Right.
I want to. I don't. And I will never understand that. It takes time. It takes. It's a process. It just takes years of working with people and manifesting what you want, and then learning more about you as a comedian. I don't get on stage to learn about my audience. I get on stage to learn about me
Yeah.
and how to handle my audience, no matter who I'm in front of. You know, I was on tour with Dave. I did 20,000 seats, sold out arenas with Dave.
Wow.
And he was on tour for maybe 30 arenas. I did 9 of them. That was my first experience of being in such a massive capacity. So I do a joke about, we got these Trump fans in the house, and I'm so used to people be like, no, no, no. But then I heard half the audience screaming,
Oh, wow.
yay. So I
Oh.
couldn't go after Trump's politics. I had to go after Trump, the man, that he likes McDonald's, that he likes to grab women by the woo-ha. So I was like, well, okay, I just want to meet him so he can grab my woo-ha. He's going to be pleasantly surprised. Like that, because then it made it funny to an audience that loved this man.
Right.
You have, and I hate when I hear comedians say, oh, I'm not changing my material for nobody. Well, if you don't adapt to the room that's in front of you, you will stay stagnated right where you at, because you have to change up for the audience that's in front of you. Know your audience is very true when you're a stand-up comedian.
Well, and I think that that's a really great idea to get the room gauge, the temperature gauge of everything, because I've never done stand-up. I revere it very, very much. I love the art of it, but I could not imagine being on stage and then just continuing to perform a set to an audience that, especially if you take that gauge and you know that they're not going to be into it, that's got to be painful.
Well,
Control what you can.
I always
too.
do politics, and then I'm transgender. So, and I don't even come out to say that I'm transgender. It's just the elephant in the room. Eventually, I get around to letting you know that I created my own pronoun, which is he, she, we. That stands for he cash the check, she make the money, we spend it. Same girl said it, same girl is. I always let you know that, but that is not how I come out. I come out and, hey, I usually make my voice like really deep and say, how y'all doing? And just, in one of my scandalous dresses, and it blows them out the water. Because what I have to do is shock them and then grab them.
Right.
Not shock them and chase them away from me. I shock them and reel them in. And a lot of comics don't know how to do that. I think that is what comes with seasoning and what comes with being a mature comedian. When I say mature, I don't mean old. I mean that you have gotten on stage to learn about you. You don't get on stage to learn about the audience. People are going to be people. You learn more about you and how to adapt. I learned that. It was a process. Trust me, it was a process.
What, in your opinion, makes for a solid joke or a solid bit?
Truth.
Okay.
So
I like that.
the worst things can happen to you. You got hit by a car, or you get evicted from your apartment. Turn your tragedy into pain, because if you make it funny to you, you can make it funny to people who paid to come and see you. People always want to say, well, you transgender, you this and you that. I have made my life hilarious, because a lot of things that happen in my life are absolutely hilarious. Paul Mooney taught me that I would be unforgettable, but Michael Collier told me, paint a picture. The same thing that happens to you happens to me, but I have to show the world through my eyes, not through yours.
Right.
And so I have to pay bills. I have to go to the PTA. Now, I can't go to the PTA like this. I grow a beard and put on a hat and some glasses. I try to look like a dude for my kids. But I make that a joke because people are like, well, you're not living your truth. This is my truth. This is my truth. I don't know your truth. I don't want to know your truth. But this is, so I make that a joke because that is who I am. So I think that's what it is. You turn that truth and that tragedy, that pain into the funny, then you own it. Because then the believable part is it's true to you. So then you make it true to the audience.
I love that. That is such good insight. I've always been curious to find out what like the recipe is because again, I love comedy, but I think it's so. And I know that a lot of different comedians have different approaches.
Yes.
But I love that with yours.
Well, I love a
to utilize
storytelling
that.
comedian. That's
Me
what
too.
I love. I
Yeah.
love a comedian that will take me on a ride and tell me the different stories. One-liners can come in here and there, but a comedian that just does one-liner, one-liner, one-liner. That was great with Rodney Dangerfield for me. But for me, I'm a storyteller. And I will sit my fat ass on a stool, cross my legs and let you look at them and take you on a whole ride and you will not even go pee because you don't want to miss one iota of my stories.
I love that. I love that so
So
much.
drag queen story time is Flame in the Road.
Oh my goodness. I'm curious to ask you, obviously you've had the opportunity to tour with Dave Chappelle and then obviously with Tiffany Haddish as well. From that experience, what did you learn about yourself or maybe comedy or anything like that? Or did you have any epiphanies or what happened? What did you take away from that experience? That's so wonderful.
So with Tiffany Haddish, who came and got me and rescued me in 2019 and put me on They Ready against many opposition. Lots of people told her, don't put me on the show. And people who were part of the show was like, flame. And my episode was the actual one that got nominated for the Emmy. So I proved you all wrong. I'm going to continue to prove you wrong. But with Dave, you know what it was for me with Dave Chappelle? Because I was always a fan of Dave's brilliance. You know, his comedy to me was great. But his mind, the way his process of the way he sets up the joke, and you'll see him light that cigarette, and I can see the wheels spinning in his head. And when he pours that drink, all the time his mind was working to where am I going next with this joke? Where am I going to take my audience? I got an up close and personal master class for 9 arenas. I was always first. I would do my set, my 10, 15 minutes, and then I would go and put on my comfortable dress, and I would go in the audience and I would watch a master. Every arena I was at, I would watch this master because I'm a student. I was always learning. So I've never hit the glass ceiling, even with all the things I've accomplished. And I always want to feel like that because to me, once you hit the glass ceiling, you can only go down. I wanted to grow. So I would watch Dave and I would listen to Donnell Rollins on the road who was with us and Marshall Brand. And I was like a sponge. I was sucking it up. Even though I've been in the game 20 years, I was still learning. Because I always want to learn to be a better, and that's what it taught me. It taught me not only was I able to stand on the stage with anyone, but watching Dave made me know, tell those stories. Because the stories is what reel people in. You hit them with the shock and then you throw out the hook and then you reel them in. And that's what Dave does. And I'm like, I'm going to be just like that. I'm just going to have titties while I do it. I'm a big admirer of Dave, though. Really a big admirer. And there's so many comedians that I think are brilliant. I think Jerry Seinfeld is brilliant. You know, it's so many comics that I absolutely... My favorite female comics, black, is Samore because of her style of dress, and she's absolutely hilarious. But Rita Rudner, because she always wore the gowns. She was always glamorous. And she always talked about her family and bucked her ass real big. But she was always so beautiful. Male comics was Bernie Mac and, of course, Red Fox, you know, and Eddie Murphy, all those. But working from Chicago, I had so many comedians, D. Ray Davis and Bernie Mac and Damon Williams that I would watch and study these guys, and they were great.
I love that. Have you had the opportunity to return to Chicago at all and perform? Or?
Actually, yes. I was on tour. I did the arena. I did the United Center with Dave Chappelle on one of the tours. That was one of our stops.
Oh, wow.
So I was
That's
able
a full
to go
circle
home.
moment.
It was. And mind you, I grew up in the projects right across the street. And I told that story. I said, wow, this is full circle. I used to sneak in here to watch the Blackhawks games because I was a big hockey fan when I was young because my uncle loved the Blackhawks. And then the security would escort me out. The full circle was that security escorted me in, and I had to have security escort me out now because I was a celebrity.
Right.
Look at God.
Look at God. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Thank
That's
you.
such a amazing feeling.
Thank you. It was. Because they used to come in and find us and take us out of security. Now they had to sneak me in because I was such a pretty girl. I was so known. Who knew?
Like, well, thank you, security man. So talk to me. Obviously, we're here to talk all about Netflix as a joke.
Yeah.
Congratulations on returning with this festival.
Thank you.
How did the opportunity come back up again for you, and what are you most looking forward to with whatever you can tease?
After doing Netflix 2019 with They Ready with Tiffany Haddish and some of the other young ladies, I did a Netflix as a joke 2 years ago. And I think it was like during the pandemic, so it was different because mask and you know all the foolishness. But then when they emailed me now for this one, I was like, of course I will do it because I want variety to read when I do get my offer, because I'm going to get an offer. I want variety to read Flame Monroe, first comedian of trans experience to ink multi-million-dollar deal with Netflix. That is history for me. That's what I want. That is what I'm speaking into existence.
Absolutely, I want that for you.
Because I'm not a
You deserve it.
transgender comedian. I am a comedian that happens to be transgender. But I'm the coldest bitch on two legs. He, she, we, yeah. And I have created my own lane. I'm my own me. He, she, we is a pronoun that by the way, I own he, she, we. Yeah, I made sure I patent that. That is mine. So if you use it, I'm going to sue you. I'm going to go full Karen and sue the hell out you. But that is what I want. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited about some of my new material. It's a little raw.
Okay.
I'm going to have to sugarcoat it, I'm sure, for Netflix is a joke. Or when we get to the big wig, because I could probably do it the raw way for the showcase. But when and if I get the deal, then they're going to want me to bring it down because of the climate that we live in. You can't say things.
Right.
And I talk about adopting white children. You know, why not? White folks adopt black kids all the time. In order to teach white children to love, because racism is a learned behavior. In order to teach love, when you get a new job, where do you start? At the ground level. So I'm going to get me some white kids young and teach them to grow up and love me and love people like me and love my color and love everything. Oh, but that's not the way I say it on stage. But you have to be there next Friday at the Elysian to get there like that. But and with my comedy, I always try to leave a message.
Right.
And I always try to teach subliminally because I don't want to just boom, 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 and it becomes a therapy session. I'm not a therapist comedian. You're going to think about what I say because I make everything funny. I make everything funny. My children do the same thing. I've taught my children that life is going to slap the shit out of you. But what you have to do is understand how you take that slap, turn the other cheek, and give it back.
That's incredible. And I can tell that you're doing a great job with parenting by that, because I think that's obviously that's the reality of the way of the world, and I think that's great that you're teaching them that.
Thank you, but you can come get them anytime you like. Look at me just giving my kids away. No, I got great kids. I really do have great children.
I love that.
We still do. Well, I got a 17-year-old though. I'm in that phase.
Oh, how's the 17-year-old phase going? Is it no? Well,
Look at my face. My 17-year-old is me with a vagina. That's all you need to know. And every emotion that a woman goes through, she is a little mini me. Because you know the moral of Frankenstein is that Frankenstein was never the monster.
that's right.
Frankenstein created the monster,
monster.
and then did not want to face the demon that he created. When I tell you I am Frankenstein, I have created a monster. And people miss that whole moral of that story because they always say, oh, that was the monster. Frankenstein was never the monster. He created the monster. We create our own monsters a lot of times.
Oh my God.
In so many different capacities in our life. Relationship, your parents, your partners, so many things. Your job. Sometimes we create monsters, and then you have to deal with it. And good God, am I dealing with it.
Oh boy. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking with us.
Listen, I'm excited. Thank you so much, BuzzFeed. I think that this Netflix is a Joe special because I know a lot of comedians get hour special after hour special after hour special, 3 or 4 in 1 year. And I'm not knocking that, but I've had times, because I haven't did one since 2019, I've had time to let life, to let things marinate, to understand. I'm taking y'all ass on a ride that you will never get loose. I want to call it distractions. Ooh. Brace yourself, because we're living in a time of distractions right now. And I'm going to be the most distracting bitch that you ever seen. So come get you a piece, Netflix. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be fantastic. I'm also going to add he, she, we in that, because if I add he, she, we to it, that means I own this. And that means you'll have to give me another check. Okay, where we at?
There we go. I was just going to say thank you so much.
It's all about the money at the end of the day. Good God.
Absolutely. Hey, you've got 3 kids and rescue dogs. You got a whole crew at home.
And listen, you know, he don't dress up, but she always needs a new pair of shoes. So I definitely need a big check. Thank you very much. Thank you, guys. This was so great.
Absolutely. If you would like to just plug any social media, any content like that, and obviously all of the ticket information for your upcoming performance, that'd be awesome.
So please follow me at Instagram at Monroe Flame. On YouTube, I do a coffee time each and every morning, Monday through Friday, which is Flame Monroe is my YouTube channel. I don't look like this. I have on my hat and my glasses. I'll be the other person during the daytime. I just on my 4th year with iHeart under the Black Effect Network. I have a podcast called Laugh and Learn with my co-host Bobby Clifford, which is political hodgepodge from a humorous satire, because no matter what she looks like and no matter what this producer here looks like, we all come from different areas, but we all live in this country, which makes us all what? Americans. And so I always push that we are Americans. We don't look alike. We might not eat the same food, but we all live in the same country and we have to get along. So listen to my podcast, Laugh and Learn Season 4. And you know how hard it was to get a 4th season? And I'm not doing gossip and I'm not doing messy. I am teaching, because politics is very scary to people. It's like the Bible. So many different interpretations. I make it ABC so we'll know how important it is for us as women, biological woman and a trans woman, that this is our election to win, because he wants to take the power of my woo-ha. I like my woo-ha. So make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. Thank you, guys. Listen, May 10th at the Elysian Theater, 9:45 p.m. It's going to be an hour that you will never forget. Shalimar said it best. I'm going to make this a night to remember. Come and get it, y'all. Get your tickets at the box office, at the website, or in between my legs, whichever comes first. Have a great day, y'all. Hi, my name is comedian Flame Monroe, and I want you to know I'm the original he, she, we. That is, he catch the check, she make the money, we spend it, and you have just been buzzed.